Hello Internet, my name is Aqua, and welcome to the RWBY Volume 5, Episode 2 discussion with Rebkos!
Heyo!
Once again, I'm pointing off to the side, she's not here. She's maybe in that direction, but I don't know. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, how are you?
Pretty good. This episode kind of blew my mind a little bit, so I'm dealing with that.
God.
But otherwise, I'm fine.
Such a good episode. I really enjoyed this one a lot.
I would have expected the events that occurred in this episode to happen at like episode 6, but this is episode 2.
Yeah, I mean, we are off and running this season.
Opening with this. It's
and
insanity.
Also with surprisingly long episodes. Like episode 1 was like 23 minutes and this one was 21. Like,
I mean, that's the normal length episode of like a show or like an episode of anime. So I'm hoping that they're going to actually like try for that, which will be the first time they've done that. And that's a lot of content, especially with the Rooster Teeth team. They try to pack in as much information to every single scene as possible and like make sure every single thing.
They were aiming for 14 episodes this season. So we're going with a true TV series length.
Oh yeah. Even longer, because usually for anime seasons, there are 12 or 13 episodes, and this is 14. Yeah. So that's even beyond that. I mean, it
depends on the show.
Most anime series that I've seen are 12, 13 episodes. If they're like it's either like 12 or 13 or like 24 to 26. Or, yeah, a billion forever. Just no stopping.
Well, it's like Full Metal Alchemist. I think both the original and Brotherhood were like 40 episodes each.
Brotherhood was 60.
Really?
I remember, because because I watched it over 3 days, watching 20 episodes a day.
And go!
Pretty much. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump right into this and start out with the scene with Lionheart and Watts.
Yeah!
Which is something that we already knew about and that was happening because at the end of Volume 4, Watts is like, oh, like Salem's always told me you're so hospitable. And then, see that she's not, actually. We see her grim once again, which is really creepy still.
I want to know what this little side room is. Like, we have this random secret room off to the side of Lionheart's office that doesn't go anywhere. It dead ends into this weird little room that the Seer Grim is hanging out in. Like, what is that?
I thought originally it was they were going to like the vault where the relic is being kept, and maybe this is what that was once upon a time, but now it just has the Seer Grim in it.
Maybe Salem just Salem. Well, no, because only the maiden can touch the relic. So,
well, only the maiden can access the relic. Like, if the relic is the cane, and that little orb at the top is like the container for it or something, like it's some other dimension or something crazy, who knows? I thought that the maiden was only able to like open whatever it is the relic is contained in, not necessarily a door or a vault or something.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, I was just like, I know I keep a secret little murder room off to the side of my office. Like, what is this? Why is there's no windows? It is true. Yeah. Okay.
So, we see Lionheart directly talking with Salem, and something that really was interesting to me is like how casual Watts is around everyone. Because I mean, like we saw in Watts' introduction, even when Salem came in the room, he didn't sit down until Salem did.
Yeah.
So, like, he thinks he's some sick badass, and he's just, like, the entire time, just, like, very, like, stoic, and just like, oh, yeah, of course, it's just another day.
The not sitting down, that's... He's also very prim and proper. Like, that's kind of your classic thing of a lady walks into the room and all of the gentlemen at the table stand up. Like, that him not sitting until she's seated, that's fine.
I saw a lot of speculation when that first happened that it was almost a power play kind of thing, but yeah, I don't know all the etiquette of that kind of thing, so I don't really know 100% what he was going for.
Clearly, you must watch more Jane Austen things. Not that I watch any Jane Austen things.
But we see also that Cinder is there, and she can talk again.
Yes, Jessica Negri returns. Well, I guess Jessica Negri was providing all of the, like, scene in the previous volume, but now she's, like, allowed to talk again.
Yeah, which is very nice, and Watts doesn't seem to be too pleased about this because he can't make fun of her as easily anymore.
He is just such a screaming asshole. Like, I want to know what his damage is.
I think he seems like the intellectual type that thinks he's just above everyone else, like mentally at least.
Yeah, though I do want to know what his extended skill set is. Mm-hmm. Like, he's apparently going to be the one to give Tyrion a new tail. Are we genetically modifying something? Are we making a new prosthetic tail? Like, what are we doing? What is his special secret skill set?
I have some notes about that, actually. I wrote down notes this time. FYI, didn't have notes last time. Do this time. So what I was thinking is that Salem can possibly, like, infuse people with Grim in some way, or at least give them powers similar to Grim.
Oh god, Grimtail. That would be fucking terrifying.
Yeah. So if, Salem's like, hey, here's this Deathstalker. Just stick it into Tyrion, and then he becomes part Grim and, gets a even better tail.
Oh, that would be horrifying. I'm entirely rooting for that now.
And there's also a curious thing of a little bit later in the scene when Salem talks about Cinder getting a power.
Yeah.
When the time is right. And I'm curious if that's also Grim related, because Cinder could already, like, talk to, or at least calm the Grim, as she did with the dragon.
Yeah.
And maybe they wanted to release the dragon so that Salem could just squish the dragon into Cinder and so she could become Dragon Maiden.
So, Cinder is supposed to be Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that one, Cinderella doesn't have a dragon. I guess Sleeping Beauty has a dragon.
Because that would be very well.
Sleeping Beauty has a dragon. So that's unfortunately that couldn't be a good tie-in, because that would be kind of sick and fucked up.
A little bit. Yeah, so I'm really curious, because we still haven't really seen what Salem could do, and she's in the land where Grim is just kind of like spawning out of puddles.
Yeah, and we saw it kind of a little bit at the end of the last volume of her, like, her new flamethrower arm. But all of that ink seems to be 100% directed at Ruby, and that Oh, does she want to kill Ruby, like, real bad?
Yeah, is the girl with her? Yeah, she's not happy about what happened about, like, because I thought, we see that Cinder doesn't have her eye. It's her left eye, right?
Yes.
And she also has the entire left part of her body completely covered up. So I'm curious if she just has just a ton of burns or some kind of, like, nastiness going on under there that,
but her wacky fun flamethrower is also her left arm. So something crazy has happened to that side of her body.
Well, that's just maiden powers, isn't it?
Maybe?
We haven't really seen, like, a stream of fire like that before, but I wouldn't be surprised if she'd be able to do that at this point.
Yeah. And it's probably combining in some way with her own semblance. So, yeah. But boy, does she want to kill Ruby.
Oh, yeah. So we also see that Salem now finds out that Crow is still alive after Tyrion says that he's dead, which Salem's lackeys aren't very good at actually murdering people. Is Osmond dead? Yes. No.
Well,
is Crow dead? Yes. No.
Osmond's dead, but, not his
Cinder
soul
got closer with killing Ozpin than Crow, and I can't even blame her for not knowing that, but Tyrion had no confirmation that dude died, and he's just like, oh yeah, he's dead. And that's also when, after that whole conversation, Salem was like, bring in Tyrion, because he fucked up. So that's I was also thinking about the whole Grim thing. It's like, that probably has to not feel too great. So it'd be a kind of punishment.
We're gonna fix your tail, but you're not gonna like it.
No, it's gonna be bad.
There's one thing I wanted to comment on in this scene. So the Seer Grim, which I should have written down the person's username, but there was someone on Reddit who called it a violent webcam, which I just thought was fucking hysterical. It was like, yes, that is what these officially are at this point.
Pretty much, like, it's interactive at the very least. it's used for violence in this case, because we see that like all the tentacles can be actually maneuvered by Salem directly, because you can barely see it, but she does like move her hand in the
and that girl does not like being talked back to. Like the second Lionheart starts getting uppity with her, well, I feel like this is go ahead. That's right. Then I'll go ahead. So I had one observation about them, and this is I don't know if you ever watched Stargate, but in Stargate SG-1 they had effectively these giant communication spheres, which kind of did the violent webcam thing. But they also had little handheld ones for more mobile communication. I'm kind of wondering if these Seer Grim come in different sizes, and could they be used to pretty much bug a room?
That's entirely possible. That would be a very interesting thing. I mean, we haven't seen anything like that yet, but
talk about biotechnology.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this Seer Grim absolutely opens up that opportunity for that to be a thing in the future. And Salem's probably always coming up with new types of Grim, because she's Grim Mom.
Apparently, that's just what she does.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna invent one of these.
Mom. You know, I just thought of something actually. I feel like Ozpin and Salem might be like incarnations of the two brothers that like supposedly created everything, like humanity and Grimm and life and all that stuff. So it's possible that they're some sort of like descendant or whatever, if they have like similar powers of that type.
I don't know if I believe Ozpin. Salem I'd be willing to believe, but if Ozpin was in a similar boat, then I don't think Salem would be wasting her time asking if Ozpin was killed. Because it wouldn't matter.
Well, she might also know that he can
we're now looking for him in a new body. Like,
right,
whatever.
Exactly. Going back a little bit to the whole, like, Salem not being, like, being talked back to and everything, I feel like there's another scene where we see how Salem interacts with her lackeys and how she keeps them under control, because some of them she talks really nice to, like Cinder, she praises for the most part, except, like, when she, trying to, like, push her forward. Watts, she seems we haven't really seen too much interaction, but she seems pretty just like not on equal footing necessarily, but like, yeah, it's very professional. And since Lionheart is the Cowardly Lion, obviously fear is going to be a great tactic to keep him in line.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was just a really interesting thing of like, she knows how to manipulate people.
Like, you'll have plenty of situations where she could be threatening his family. She could be threatening anything. She's threatening him directly. Because she knows that's the only... Yeah, physically. She's threatening him personally with physical violence. It's not she has his family hostage and that's why he's so easily manipulated. No, she's just threatening to kill him and he's willing to throw the entire world away over that.
Absolutely. And I'm really curious what exactly this group has told him that like he's willing to go along with it, because he is a huntsman, he's the headmaster of an academy, so I feel like if there was something that was putting the world or his school in danger, because they are essentially trying to bring down their Haven Academy with the White Fang, so I'm really curious.
He's part of the Ozpin Illuminati, so he should know Salem is the big bad. We cannot let the relics fall. This is humanity coming to an end if it does. But he's just too much of a coward, and he's... somehow he'll survive even if humanity doesn't, if he's willing to cater to Salem. And it's like, oh, hon.
Yeah. No. I was curious if it was something like they saw Beacon fall, and he was like, I don't want that to happen to my school, my kingdom, so will you guys protect me? And they're like, sure, and then obviously probably not gonna happen.
No. Then that which case he's just like extra dumb. And Ironwood is totally right. It's like, I don't trust Leo.
Oh yeah. So at the end of the scene, well, and nobody trusts Ironwood at this point either, but at the end of the scene we see that Cinder and her team, Mercury, Emerald, are going to be going to Raven's place, which there's going to be the Fall Maiden and the Spring Maiden meeting up.
The question is, does Neo count on this team?
I hope so.
Like, are we actually going to see Neo return, or is she? I feel like
at some point they said in an interview or some podcast or something that they said Neo was going to be back. I feel like they confirmed that somewhere.
I mean, we can't be like, oh, is the voice actress on contract?
Yeah, seriously. So I really hope we do see Neo again this volume. I was thinking about that as well, because I miss the little murder biscuit. I really do.
Murder biscuit?
Yeah, that's what I called her in the last video.
Okay, I think I missed that.
Well, you haven't seen the video yet because it's still uploading. By the way, when I'm recording this video, the last video is still uploading. It's been uploading for about 3 hours. Whoops.
You're welcome.
Anyway, yeah, seriously. Hope you enjoy it. And also, I wanted to touch on something you mentioned about Watts earlier, what his skill set is, and it seems like he is like the technology expert because he created the virus. Yeah. He like set up that whole thing, and he seems to be, that's his job, and also like getting people to just smooth talking people essentially.
Evil scientist dude.
Exactly. And then we have bringing Tyrion. We're going to war with him, which I was really hoping we were going to get to see this episode, but we don't. We go to Weiss, flying through some floating islands, which is freaking cool.
I loved this entire sequence so much. This was just phenomenal. This was probably the closest to a Star Wars-esque fight sequence that we've seen in RWBY up to this point. I mean, it is straight up TIE fighters chasing the Millennium Falcon through the asteroid field and then ending with Luke Skywalker in the trench run. Like that is what this scene was. And it was just phenomenal. I was so happy watching it.
I got a lot of the same feeling of like just flying through an asteroid field kind of thing. And it was really cool. There were some moments in the animation with Weiss before the Queen came out that I was a little bit like, that's weird. It was just like how she used her powers a little bit less than like animation, because we see in volume 1 episode 8 that she like does a little spin thing, it pops up a bunch like in a circle and it just starts firing lasers a bunch, and we don't really see any like, it's like she has to have a new glyph every time now, which was a little weird to me.
Did seem to be using her glyph. I agree with you entirely. Like her use of her glyphs seemed a lot different / evolved from what we've seen before. And I'm not sure how much of that is just considered general character progression, or maybe it was just the animators decided we're gonna do it differently this time. Like there was a lot of stuff she kept doing, particularly like remotely placing her glyphs down. Like she did plenty of stuff directly in front of herself. But like even one of the shots she did to cause the avalanche, like she shot out these weird fireballs that then whipped around and managed to hit the cliffs directly in front of the ship. And then I'm skipping to the end of the scene, but when they start crashing, she starts generating the repulsion glyphs in front of the ship, which A, brilliant, B, how the hell did she get those out there? She can't see over there. Previously we've only really seen Weiss use her glyphs in situations where she can see where they're going. And so we saw like a lot of remote ops in this situation, and I just thought that was different and new, and was curious about whether or not we'd be seeing more of that, because my god, is that hella useful.
Oh yeah, I was very glad to see that she was like using her glyphs in new ways. It just, as far as like the whole laser thing was a little odd, because also like when she did have the similar kind of like blue trailed projectiles as she had when fighting what's the bird called? Nevermore. Like those just kept shooting, and some of them were missing, and these were like dead accurate, which maybe like it was a different kind of glyph, different kind of projectal, just same kind of effect or whatever.
And I mean, we saw her do projectiles, and even in the White trailer, like she did in fighting the suit of armor guy, like she did a little bit of this sort of thing. Yeah.
She used projectiles to attach glyphs to the arms and legs of the Grimm. I don't remember necessarily other projectiles, because those similar kind of lasers things flew out. I may be misremembering this a little bit, but the projectiles flew out and then hit the limbs of the Grimm armor thing, and then glyphs appeared where they hit. Yeah,
like he kind of got like restrained by it, but
yeah, but it was still the same kind of thing.
We got projectile glyph violence.
Yes. So something that I also really loved about this, that they showed the floating islands, and usually like you'll see floating islands in like anime kind of thing, and there's not necessarily a really good explanation for it besides magic, but we see this is gravity dust, and he's like, it's causing turbulence, and this is the first really kind of thing where I see dust in nature, I feel like. Is that accurate?
Maybe.
We see dust in its crystallized form a few times. Mostly,
this is probably the first time we've seen it.
Volume 3.
This is probably the first time we've seen it genuinely in nature. I mean, during the Vital Festival tournament, we saw the different locations spawn up, and there was one that just seemed to have crystallized dust kicking around. Well, so that would be an artificial environment, but it's intended to project a natural one. So this is probably the first time we've truly seen it just in the environment.
Okay, and I thought that was just a really cool thing to see, because gravity dust has always been a really curiosity to me, because we've seen Weiss use it kind of, because she has her black glyphs, which are essentially just like repulsion or attraction, as we also saw in the ship when she opened, or before they open up the back of it, she puts down a black glyph so she stands on that just keeps her there, which I thought was so great, because I was so hoping for that, because I was just looking at it and I'm like, she could easily just the ship could do whatever, and if she had that glyph down, she could just stick there, and it did. Like, there was a lot of flying around. I felt
so dumb going into that scene, because it was like, Weiss, what are you doing? Why are you asking him to open the back door? You're gonna get sucked out. And then she puts a glyph down, and it was like, I'm a dumbass. That's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, I was really hoping they did that. I'm so glad that they did.
Yeah, no, that I everything about this scene I just absolutely adored.
But after we see the floating islands, we see a new type of Grimm, which were, what are they called?
Lancers, and they are terrifying.
Oh yes, I never thought that there would be a Grimm that would be able to like shoot out stuff, or like whatever like this can. Like, it's a really great design for a Grimm, even, and the fact that like this has hooks that can shoot out and just pull apart ships and people
I hope either Carrie or Miles has like an absolute fear of bees, and like that's where this is coming from. Like, I'm really curious. I just want that to be true.
Oh yeah, I'm really curious how many Grimm they designed, like with Monty.
Yeah,
because like there was an interview or a panel a while back that Miles said that his favorite Grimm hasn't even been shown yet.
And then he changed his mind on what his favorite Grimm was.
Oh really?
It's not like he kept maintaining that through Volume 3 that it was coming up, and then, or no, I'm sorry, Volume 4 that it was coming up, but that it had been cut. And then when the fun flail arm guy, what's his name?
Knuckle-Levy.
The Knuckle-Levy, thank you. When that one got brought in, I think he said in an interview that he might have changed his mind and made that one his new favorite. And so the question is, what was the original Grimm?
Exactly. Like, I want to see. I was curious if like this was it, because like this is like
these are terrifying,
pretty devastating. Yeah, like there's, whether you're an airship or even on land, like if you're in a vehicle, you're pretty screwed. Even like in one-on-one, these things are huge.
Yeah,
like these things are the size of a person.
And they're directly collaborating with each other. They're actively swarming. Oh, yeah. Like we've seen Grimm attack together, but I'm not sure we've ever actually seen teamwork from the Grimm. And these are active teamwork Grimm.
That's a really good point, actually. I didn't actually think about that, and that makes them even more terrifying.
Yes, absolutely. And then they also have a queen, kind of like any actual wasp nest or whatever. Do wasps have queens? Bees have queens. I don't know if wasps do.
I hate wasps. Whatever. I don't care.
See? Fucking terrifying. There's kind of always these questions when you have these swarming groups, like if you have like the Borg in Star Trek, where the queen is actually in charge. And so is that queen actually controlling the swarm, or are they independently working together, or what is going on here?
The queen was
asleep,
out of it and then woken up. So I really don't know. But the queen is very big.
Yeah.
Very, very big.
You can set off quite a dust bomb around the queen, and it's not even going to be phased. It's just going to be pissed off. If you see,
it's covered in armor. Like, that thing is like 100% armor.
It's covered in armor that then opens up, and it can just start shooting spikes at you. It's like, oh my god.
It's these things are not something to mess around with. Certainly, you can definitely see why the dude wanted to avoid anything around this area, because he knows that those Grimm exist. We didn't. Weiss might not have. Weiss probably does.
But
Grimm studies it all.
I saw a comment on Reddit commenting on how, the pilot maintained being charismatic the entire time, but I did not like it when the pilot was like, well, they're dead. Fuck off to you. I'm gonna go over here. It was kind of that classic Churchill moment. There's a quote by Churchill, which is, you were given the choice between dishonor and war. You chose dishonor. You shall have war. And that's exactly what happened here. Oh, we're just going to ignore the other people in trouble.
Absolutely.
Well,
but
no.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, like, why the pilot chose to do what he did, even if it is really douchey. And like, it was, pretty much going to happen.
I did love Weiss's comment of, he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, what we should have done in the first place. It's like, yeah, go Weiss.
Absolutely. So, then we get to see Weiss's summon in action, in full and earnest, and holy shit, she has a lot of control over that thing.
Yeah, like, again, we're seeing a lot of this weird remote ops of she goes almost into a meditative state and then just sends the knight off to go do quite an impressive series of acrobatics and even some teleportation, which surprised me a little. I feel like that was a really cool moment, which, like, I'm totally fine with, because that's what the show is about. Yeah. But it was very interesting to see, like, she had to spend so much effort to summon the dude originally. He goes off and just, like, is a badass. And then, as you said, starts, like, teleporting around, which in reality is her just, like, canceling the summon and then summoning it somewhere else and then having it shoot out. Without being able to see any of this. So she has some sort of active, whether she, like, through her mind's eye can see from the knight's point of view, or she just has this weird hyper awareness of her surroundings, allowing her to do this in an effective combative manner. Like, that is cool.
Yeah, it seems like she has to have some kind of, like, spatial awareness, because she does then, as you mentioned earlier, summon a bunch of glyphs in front of the ship, which I didn't even think about that. And that was brilliant. And the effect that they used for it crashing through the glyph was just like...
Yeah, and you could see the ship actively slow down and then the glyph would break and the ship would speed up. Like, it was... I know in the... they had the... I don't know what they're calling it, effectively, the... Talking about how we did this episode, little shorts. They were talking about all of the special effects and how they've been using the new physics engines in Maya to do a lot of the things crumbling and gravity falling. Like, you could, I can only assume they use that in that sequence, because that looks so realistic, of the slowing motion and then just going straight back into the crash as soon as the glyphs broke out.
Yeah, I mean, if they have a physics engine that's built into that thing, they'd be able to just apply a force to it.
Oh, yeah.
To simulate that. So it did look very realistic.
Which makes me want to know what exactly the repulsive force in G's is by one of Weiss's clips.
Of course you would. I'm sure you could calculate it if you really wanted to, based on just trying to find a reference point of, like, where how fast the ship is going and everything. But
yeah, true.
So you need something nearby to reference it. But anyway,
it's fine. It's fine.
The ship ends up crashing, and then we cut away. White Fang with Adam in a new outfit, which
his emo
awesome.
Kid zipper outfit.
There were a lot of zippers on it. It looks kind of
I wasn't buying it. It's like, what is it? Are you 12? Like, no.
It was a little weird. But it kind of looked like a military-esque uniform more so than what he had before.
Yeah, it was like what a 12-year-old has decided the new Nazi uniform looks like, and it's like, it's gonna have zippers. It's like, what is this?
It was someone trying too hard to be cool.
Yeah, it's like,
which fits Adam perfectly. Like, I'm not saying, like, are the
zippers functional? Like, does he have lots of pockets, or are they just, like, aesthetic zippers? And it's like, what is this?
They're probably just
what are you doing?
I mean, think about Adam. He's like angsty teenager, and like that's exactly what that outfit it shows to me. It's like someone trying to be professional, but still just like really up their own ass a little bit. Which, like, that's why I really liked his new outfit. Not necessarily because it was like really like I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool enough, but I also thought it just reflected Adam's personality.
It does,
especially,
but his personality disappoints me.
Oh, of course, he's a douchebag. You see Adam trying to convince the leader of blah 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 blah. And
Sienna Khan is a pretty solid leader to start with. Just the way they introduced her with this is not the way to do this. Like, violence has its time and place. This was unacceptable that you took it too far. And then she kind of takes it a little too far, and she's like, I want humanity to fear the faunus. And it's like, all right, are you trying to coexist, or
well, that's the thing. It's like we heard from Blake about like the new leader took over, and like we started acting on like trying to, you know, have fear be the main thing. And it was really interesting because she was
so far you can take fear.
Oh yeah, but she was like, she had a very good way of leading and a very good way of like speaking, and you can see like how she could have risen up through the ranks and like why she became the leader and everything. I don't necessarily agree with her methods, of course, because it is using fear and violence and everything, but like she knew that going too far with it was going to be a bad thing.
And like she did at least seem to appreciate that, you know, the Grimm are really the enemy, so we kind of need the huntsman. Then,
yeah, she wants respect. Didn't necessarily find a good way long term for it, but
no, because you can't really expect fear to work in the long term.
Exactly, and that's not really, I guess, what she's telling Adam, because she is just like, fear's the way to go, but like you've taken it too far because you've attacked an academy, and like this is not what we wanted. This is not what I wanted. And she had a great line where it's like, I don't think either of you understand what I want anymore. Which seemed to be very much the case. That was also
one of these like angry girlfriend moments of, you know what you did.
Oh yeah. Like... And then they bring in Adam brings in Hazel,
who is super chill and polite. I want to know what his motivation is, because I am so confused at this point.
Every single new character we've been introduced to so far, including Sarah Khan, and just like getting to see more of Watts, more of, you know, all these characters, I just love how they're portrayed so much, because they're not just like they're typical like, oh, I'm super evil or anything. It's like
they are almost immediately three-dimensional characters, just based on their random subtle moments in what they're saying, and it's not. Yeah, you're totally right. It's like, I am evil. I am big, angry, scary man. It's like, no. This guy is super chill and polite and doesn't actually want anyone to die today. Which is
such a great line.
Yes.
That whole thing is just so great. But yeah, you can really tell that like all of these characters that we were introduced to in Volume 4 and 5, including all of Salem's team, including Sienna Khan, like these are characters that have been around for years that have been planned out from the very beginning, as Miles and Carrie have said.
They have extensive backstories.
And so yeah, it's like they know what these characters are already, which is great, and it really shows that. And like that's another thing that I love about the show is that everything was already planned out from the beginning. Like they've had years to like just kind of adjust it however they need to, of course, but these are all characters that they've had planned out from the beginning. They've been able to flesh them out throughout the years and really know what their motivations are before all of this starts. And that has helped so much with all these characters, because I mean, we saw with Tyrion, and
Sienna Khan gets what, 3 minutes of screen time before she's kind of off.
She was one of my favorite characters just because of her motivations about like how she has gone about doing things and just how she speaks, even like I was saying. And then she gets fucking stabbed.
Yes.
Just immediately.
And very so one of the things I noticed in this scene, which it's subtle and it's terrifying, is that not only does Adam stab her through the chest, but she's about 3 inches off the ground when he does this. So he has physically lifted her off the ground and just like really shoved that sword in there. So he's not playing around. This is not casual murder. Like, he's delighting in this.
Oh, yeah. And that's something that while I was editing the last video, I was watching bits and pieces from Volume 3, and you saw when, like, Blake was in there, it's like, you really saw, like, that is his character. Like, he's not just evil murdery man. He's, like, super evil murdery man. Like, that's his thing. Yeah. And it's like, okay. So,
he's straight up sociopathic.
Until this point, he seemed fairly 2D to me. Like, there wasn't a lot to him going on besides just, like, he's evil and he wants to just,
I am Adam.
Destroy everything. Exactly. But now it's like, oh, that's just him. Like, that's just how he is, and he's gonna double, triple, quadruple down on that. And
yeah, like his comment of the faunus or the dominant species on the planet.
Oh god, like, yeah.
I mean, again, I wish his uniform didn't just make me think angsty emo kid, because I mean that's like straight up Nazi behavior from Adam. Like, he's very much a we have to eliminate all of humanity, or at least enslave it. They are beneath us. Like,
which is really odd to me, because there's also at the beginning, like Sienna Khan's talking about, like, when it said, it's like, oh, these humans are just coming and go as they please, whatever. And Adam seems to be the one that's like hates humans way more than anybody else. But he's working with these people
actively and happily.
It's so strange, because it's like, I hate humans, I want to destroy them, but I'm going to work with humans to do that.
Yeah.
Which he was forced into it a little bit.
Just a lot.
I think it was like we saw in Volume 3, like how it started with Cinder coming in. It's like, hey, I'm way stronger than you. You're going to work for me now. And then he got introduced to the rest of the party of, like, with Salem's faction and everything. And it's like, oh, we can, like, just absolutely ruin everything. This entire world can be ours. At least as far as he thinks. He doesn't realize that he's going to get betrayed at some point. You know,
part of that world.
Yeah.
And it seems that at least Salem has potentially spoken with Adam, or at least Adam is aware of Salem, because she has the comment in the previous scene about having promised the White Fang that they'll destroy Haven.
Right.
And so clearly that promise has been made to Adam, because Sienna Khan doesn't want that. But it's almost a question of, is Adam only playing along so enthusiastically because Salem is not human? Salem is whatever creepy-ass grim monster she is?
Yeah, I suppose that could be something of it, because, like, he probably doesn't see her as human necessarily.
I don't see it.
Like, they have met, and yeah, that's true. If you're pure white and have red veins going through you with black eyes, like, there's something not quite right about you.
You're the walking, talking grim lady, and it's like, okay.
It's very true.
But yeah, then we straight up murder Sienna Khan, and we have at least our first assassination for the season.
First
Probably
death.
More pending.
Well, not first death necessarily, because a bunch of people died in ships, but we didn't see those.
Yeah, the nameless, faceless ship people.
There was something I was going to mention also that Sienna Khan did mention, like, to Adam, that's like, your tactics are short-sighted, essentially. Like, you're wasting your skills on something that, like, you're not thinking about enough.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also really cool. He didn't give a shit. And also, Hazel seemed to think that he was going to be able to, like, win Sienna Khan over to be able to work with them. Because
yeah, and like, first, the comment Hazel makes at the beginning of, like, no one has to die today, like, that was potentially just threatening of, like, ha ha ha.
I don't think so.
But yeah, then he seems to be genuinely upset when Adam goes and kills Sienna Khan, and he's like, no one had to die today. And it's like, oh, you're on Team Evil that just goes around indiscriminately killing everyone, but you don't like this. Why are you here?
Well, again, the violence or violence is necessary thing probably applies to him as well. And, like, he's fine with, like, doing these horrible things, because otherwise he wouldn't be with them. But he also just wants to be diplomatic necessarily.
Tyrion takes delight in people injured and killed. Watts sees himself as above everyone and doesn't give a rat's ass. Cinder, I mean, we saw that in... Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Cinder, we saw in Volume 3, watching everything going to hell, and even, like, Emerald's uncomfortable And it's like, oh, this is almost sad. And Cinder's like, it's horrific. And she's getting off on it. Like, whew, these are not happy people.
Certainly not.
Yeah, and then Hazel's like, this is a great tragedy. I am very unhappy and uncomfortable. It's like, why are you here? What are you doing?
Well, it's also a part of what Salem is saying when Cinder is like, which also, I didn't mention this, but I was very surprised to see like Cinder almost talking back to Salem in a way, just like questioning her, and Sam just being like, okay, yeah, I'll just explain this to you. Whereas, you know, we see Lionheart do that and we see what happens with him.
Yeah.
But I feel like Hazel has the same kind of mentality of, we need allies. Like, we just need people on our side. We don't need to, like, you know, go to any extremes. We just need people to be on our side. So he just wanted a powerful ally in Sienna Khan, because you can imagine Sienna Khan probably a pretty powerful person to be in the position that she's in. But something interesting that I jotted down here on my fancy notes is that her aura didn't break. Nothing happened with her aura. Adam's sword just sailed straight through her. So I'm curious if Dust Blades just ignore aura, or at least his does for some reason.
We saw that with Blake, and we saw that to a degree with Yang. I
actually didn't think about Blake. Yeah, Blake's aura wasn't broken either, and that just went right through it.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, even Yang rushing in and getting her entire arm hacked off. Like, we saw her aura activating and trying to protect what was left of her arm, but it's not like it was able to stop the sword.
That could have also been part of his semblance, because we saw in the trailer, Black trailer, that, like,
he gets
has that rose petal effect. Yeah, when he does his, like, charge up semblance thing, it, like, creates a rose petal effect, and that was coming off of her arm. So, but, hey, guess what? There were no rose petals here. There was straight up blood on his sword, so... Yeah, something is up with that.
And it's one of the few times we've actually even ever seen blood in this show. Like, I was thinking about this, this is kind of cutting ahead to the next scene, but, like, Weiss isn't bloodied up in the next scene at all. Probably the only other time we've seen blood in the series is when Jean gets his face cut in Volume 1, and then semi-bloodied bandages in Volume 3. And otherwise, there is no blood in this show.
Not really so far.
And to see a sword actively covered in blood and have to be cleaned off, that was new.
It's hard to avoid that when you just stab somebody with your entire sword. Yes, like, I feel like they were like, there's just no way around this. Because they had a good excuse for Yang's arm getting cut off. It's like, oh, he got cauterized essentially by flower petals, or whatever. Well, even in Volume 3,
Adam does a great flick of his sword before moving forward, which is a very traditional thing to do with, like, a katana of, oh, I've gotten blood on this, let me flick it off before I go in for the next strike. Like, you'll have a lot of sword katas that have a very specific moment of, here's where you clean the blood off, and then you keep going.
And then you keep going.
As one does.
Oh, yes. And she also just falls down the stairs, and that's very...
Well, he chucks her. Like, he yanks his sword out and knocks her down the stairs. Like, this guy is an asshole with no regard for anyone.
No. It was just interesting to me. It's like, there's a show, it's like, even last volume, there wasn't really any, like, brutal death or anything like that. And this is, like, second episode, someone's getting tossed down the stairs after getting stabbed by a sword.
Oh, yeah.
All the way through. And it's like, oh, that's what we're doing with this. Okay.
Oh, we're setting the tone early now, aren't we?
Yes. And then Adam's like, she'll be a martyr for our cause. She was killed by a huntsman, and that's where we're going forward.
Yeah, a human huntsman.
Because something I was thinking about through this scene is that Blake said to Ilya the night before, and I'm assuming that this is the next day, that they were going public with, you know, information, and now we find out Adam's leader of the White Thing, and, like, everybody's okay with it.
Yeah.
At least in Mistral and Vale. We don't know about Menagerie, what they think about all of this stuff. If they know about
it
what
seems that
doing.
Lots of things were being kept from Menagerie. And if Adam manages to spread the story that it was a human huntsman, Blake's not going to succeed. It was interesting that it was specified as human huntsman and not just huntsman, because if it was just huntsman, then Blake would definitely be being set up to take the fall for this. But we'll see. I'm still really expecting some sort of political assassination against her.
Yeah, I still don't know that he necessarily like super gives a shit about it, because there's so much more going on right now, and that he seems to be kind of over Blake at this point, at least as far as like
he is kind of your traditional over obsessed, like Blake is some sort of end game for him. He will go after her.
It was that until the point of like he found out that she isn't with him anymore and she isn't like on his side, because I feel like he was like always, you know, in the back of his mind, and she probably still is, but like there's so much more that's happening with him right now. Like he's gained so much more power since. But he is also outrageously arrogant, and she has now beaten him effectively by escaping. And he can't let that stand. Like, oh, she got away. That's fine. No, that's not a train of thought that Adam has. Yeah.
She has sided with the humans who are beneath them, and he will make the faunus the dominant species. And if she, who should have been his, you know, crazy taker for the world queen, has betrayed him, he's not going to be okay with that. Not anytime soon, at least.
I just feel like short term, at least, he's not going to be too focused on her. Like, I think she's going to end up meeting up with him sometime this volume, possibly with the rest of the Team RWBY. But as far as like short term, it's like I feel like he's focusing on like, I have these goals now. Of like, now that I have a White Fang, now I need to focus on like Haven stuff. And if Blake comes up at some point, he also probably knows
exactly where Blake is.
That's entirely possible.
The evil dog ear brothers are probably, you know, reporting back to him. I have no idea what their names are. I should look that up.
Corsic and Finnick.
There we go. Those two. Like, they're probably actively reporting back, so he knows he has kind of that remote power there of like, okay, I know where she is. Blake isn't going anywhere. I can deal with her when I'm ready to.
Exactly, yeah. That's kind of my thought about it.
She's not going to escape.
No, I don't think he's just completely forgotten about her or anything. I don't think that at all. But I think it's just like on the back burner for now because something more important has come up.
Yeah, that's going to come to a head real quick.
Oh, yeah. And now we go to the last scene, right?
Oh my God.
Which I never would have guessed in a million years. We see
this scene makes me so happy.
And you said earlier she doesn't have blood on her. It's like, I feel like Aura is very good at protecting it against. She's dirtied, but I feel like Aura is like the best at protecting it against like kind of like more solid hits like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we see you can get still knocked out without breaking your aura, like it happened in Volume 2.
Yep.
But I'm not too surprised that she was able to survive this. The pilot probably did not, because he probably didn't have an unlocked aura. And also, I was going to mention this. I forgot to write this down, actually, but Weiss probably has more aura than anybody else because she uses it the most. Because she's a mage. Like, she definitely used a lot of energy. She constantly
is flexing it, yeah.
Yeah, she's using, like, done a lot of summoning and everything, but, like, she still had plenty of aura after that to survive that crash, I feel like. So then...
That's fair.
Bandits walk up on her, and she's like, help! Clearly not looking like the type of people that are gonna help. Like,
can we just admire the artistic detail on the bandits?
Oh my God.
Like when they step into frame, one of them, like the details on his boots, like he's got casual mud splattered on his boots. Like that was
I
just
didn't
like
look at it that much, but I just love
it made me so happy. There's just like all of these like very subtle details that the animators are putting in this season, and it's just beautiful. But the boots are muddy. Take a look.
From what I saw, like when they first walked in, just the way they carried themselves and the way they looked, it was immediate. Like, that's bandits.
Yep.
Like, just getting that kind of thing across without just like straight up saying it. And of course, we find out very soon after because Raven walks in the scene. But just getting that kind of just getting that kind of information across visually is like very impressive. But then What do we have here? Looks like we've hit the jackpot. Hi, Raven.
Hi, Raven, and...
You now have your daughter's best friend sitting in this prison cell, and you don't even know it, with, you know, Yang all in the way.
Oh, yeah.
So the implications of this are just, like, off-the-wall crazy, and literally everything that I could possibly think of I absolutely love. So I don't care where this goes from here, I'm gonna love it. I can tell.
There's so many directions this could go. The obvious one is that Raven doesn't know who Weiss is with relationship to Yang. Like, it's entirely possible she does not recognize Weiss as Yang's teammate.
You think Raven's like a good mom? Like, what?
Well, Raven's weirdly aware of what Yang is up to, even if she's unwilling to admit it.
That's true.
So,
that's very true.
But I want to know if Weiss knows who this is. Like, we know Ranger was aware of Raven being Yang's mom. Jean revealed that in the previous episode.
Yep.
But Ruby could have told them at any point. They'd been adventuring together for weeks, if not months.
It's been months.
Does Weiss know anything about Yang's mom? If she hears the name Raven Bronwyn, is she going to go, oh shit, you're Yang's mom? Or is she just coming into this completely cold and maybe even is looking at this woman going, wow, you look a lot like Yang character design.
Yeah, and the red eyes and the...
Yeah. But the obvious direction they'll probably go with this is trying to ransom her as a hostage. But kind of the problem with ransoming a hostage is the other party needs to want them back.
Exactly,
and in this case, Jacques doesn't.
Well, no, he does. I feel like he does. He just doesn't care about her safety necessarily.
No, but he wants her out of the way.
He wants her in his control.
He doesn't.
If she dies, that's fine. But
that's perfectly fine. And if anything, it's probably preferable.
Probably, yeah, because like he would be able to probably make a lot of profit
Whitley is now the heir without question because Winter has renounced her claim and Weiss is dead. So even if a ransom comes in, either A, it won't be publicly known and Jacques can quietly ignore it. And so if bandits kill off Weiss, whatever, he could potentially use it to publicly harass Ironwood of my daughter has been kidnapped. You've shut down the borders. Ironwood, what type of psycho are you that you will not allow me to rescue my daughter? Or he could even potentially use it to send troops in and just secretly have Weiss offed because, oh, I guess the bandits killed her during the rescue attempt. So sad.
There's another option I was thinking of is that the information probably would get to Ironwood first, honestly.
Quite possibly.
Because, like, he's in control of Atlas at this point, essentially.
To Winter.
Yep.
So if anyone is going to... Winter is going to want to rescue her sister, but that's not who Raven is going to want to ransom her against.
No. Well, if Ironwood gets called that, he's not going to wait for a ransom. He's going to send in troops immediately because that's what his mindset is at this point.
Not necessarily.
I don't think there's any question to that because he's just all about military might and he's going crazy.
Ironwood is all about military might, but would he use the full force of it to try to rescue Weiss?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like that he would relay that information to Winter and that she might go off on her own.
Or he might hide that information because he doesn't want Winter going off on her own and there's bigger fish to fry than the young Schnee.
Like I said, a lot of options. All of them are great.
All of them are fantastic.
So there's really just... It's really hard to tell where we're going forward with this, but...
Somewhere fantastic. This season has opened out. Like, this is just great. I am so excited for the rest of the volume.
Like I commented on, I think it was Murder Bird's video that like this first 2 episodes blew me away almost as much as the entirety of Volume 3, and we're just getting started.
Oh God, yes.
So
this is gonna be good.
If we don't see more Silver Eyes at the end of this volume, or by the end of this volume, I'm gonna be a little upset, honestly, because that's such a cool power to me. But because we don't know what it is, even it's just like do stuff, okay. But we're gonna move on to the last little segment here of predictions for next episode.
Okay.
Where do we go from here?
So
it's a lot.
This is less of prediction for next episode versus prediction for the entire volume.
That's fine too.
My big question is, so Raven is the leader of the bandit tribe, but we don't know a lot about bandit tribe politics. We know that Raven and Crow were adopted by the tribe, and now she somehow leads the tribe. And my question would be, how does leadership of the tribe occur?
Well, were they adopted or were they born into it?
It sounded like they were adopted. I'd have to go back and check.
I honestly can't remember, because they called it the Bronwyn tribe. And I feel like they wouldn't
is that
just
simply because she controls it?
Could be, yeah. Who knows?
Like there's the comment she makes to Crow in Volume 4 of like, the tribe raised us, and it's like, okay, that'd be, oh, my parents raised me. Yeah, okay, yes. And
well, I feel like to Raven it's like going against your parents' wishes to not,
sure,
join up the tribe.
But so she's got this extreme loyalty to it, and my question is, how does one become the leader of the tribe? Because it all seems to be very violence and like the strong survive, the weak die, which means it's almost some sort of succession by combat.
Yep.
And there may even be one of these elements in it of like, oh, only a blood relation is allowed to challenge the leadership, which means Yang may be coming in to discover Weiss is a hostage. Weiss is possibly on the chopping block because the bandits aren't getting the ransom they wanted. And the only way Yang can interfere is by challenging her mother for control of the tribe.
There's no way she'd be able to even come close to winning against Raven.
No, she wouldn't. But that doesn't mean she won't try.
Yeah.
So my prediction going forward is that we're going to have some sort of throwdown between Raven and Yang, possibly in an attempt to save Weiss, because Weiss is not, like, Weiss isn't as far as having death flags waving at this point, but she's in for a beating.
Oh, yeah. She's not going to come out of this too great, I feel.
No, and hopefully she has a bloody lip in the next episode, because again, we took a boot to the face, and why is there never any blood on anyone? Like dried blood. Dried blood. Surely that bus, she just survived a plane crash. It's probably not going well.
In this world, mages are the least squishy. Because they just have to build up their shields. Yeah, it's not going to be too good for Weiss. I feel like next episode is going to be Yang and Raven reunion. Hopefully, just for pacing, what's the word? Purposes. Why can't I think of that word? Wow. But like, we haven't seen Yang or Ranger or Ozpin this episode at all, so I feel like that's what's going to be shown next episode, and Yang is already shown to be on her way to Raven's tribe with somebody that knows where she is, so I feel like they're just going to skip
either.
Right to it.
Weiss is the only one of the main four that we got to see this episode.
That's true. I don't think we'll get to, well, if we did like a Blake Yang episode kind of thing where Blake finds out, they try to go public with it, doesn't work, finds out that Adam's new leader to the White Fang, blah, blah, blah. I feel like that will be going on next episode, and I don't really know what's going to happen to Blake when that happens, honestly. Because she's essentially trying to speak out against the new leader of the White Fang, and we don't know what Menagerie's and we don't know where Menagerie's loyalties lie at this point.
Yeah,
like if it's with the White Fang 100%, if they don't agree with that, if everyone's siding with Adam now, which after the martyr situation happened, probably is going to be a lot more likely to.
Oh yeah,
and then Blake's going to have to go confront him personally in Mistral. So, and that's when Blake and Ruby are going to meet up. But I feel like the way the team is going to meet up is Yang and Weiss in the unfortunate situation that is, happening.
It's going to be great. I'm so excited.
Oh, yes. And then I feel like Blake and Ruby are going to meet up. The very unfortunate
situation that I'm so excited for.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But I feel like they're going to have to show at least a little bit of Rangers to show like what's happening with Oz and like what's going on with that situation. But I feel like there's not a whole lot going on at the moment, because they're getting ready to go to the Bronwyn tribe as well.
Which, again, I really hope Crow was lying to Leo, and if not, it was like, you dumbass.
Yeah, I don't think he was, unfortunately. I think he just straight up got those files copied, and then it's gonna be a thing of like Cinder and her team, Weiss, Yang, and Ranger meet up at Raven's tribe all at the same time.
Guess who's coming to dinner?
That would be a mess and a half. And I feel like if that were to happen, it wouldn't necessarily be a huge brawl fight thing. It would be more diplomatic, because that's what Ren wanted, for one thing. But I feel like if there's that many powerful people in one place, I don't think they would want to necessarily fight, because
if you put Cinder and Ruby within eyeshot of each other,
yeah,
that's not gonna go well. Cinder is gonna trash whatever plan, and she's gonna go after Ruby.
And then the Spring Maiden would intervene. It's like, hey, don't fuck up our camp just because you want to fucking kill this little girl for some reason. It's like, she doesn't even seem like a threat.
Yeah.
How'd you lose your eye again? Oh, little girl. Oh, okay, you suck.
Well, and if the Silver-Eyed Warriors are a threat to Maiden powers, Spring may not try to protect Ruby. We don't know what Spring knows.
I would assume that all of the maidens would know about Silver-Eyed Warriors, just out of, like, necessity.
Maybe?
But Ruby just doesn't know any of her powers. It's gonna happen at some point. I feel like if her teammates are in danger, that's what's gonna, like, proc her being able to use her abilities and maybe actually learning a little bit about it this time, instead of just like, what the fuck just happened? Why I killed a dragon?
Who has to get killed this time for her to be set off?
John.
Probably John, yeah.
He wasn't in the intro, really.
He was. He was in as much as anyone else.
Probably. I don't remember all that well.
He was.
I've only watched it 8 times.
He's sitting on the couch moping.
Probably. Yeah,
yes, that's what he's doing.
I just want Ruby to learn more about her abilities and be able to use them at least a little bit, because that's gonna be pretty important down the line when, you know, all of the maidens are on Salem's side. It's gonna have to fight them or something. Or if Ruby becomes a maiden herself, who knows? Or maybe all the 4 Ruby girls are gonna be the maidens.
Well, that's kind of the obvious. At some point in the series, the 4 of them take over the maiden powers. The less obvious is after 10 seasons, the world ends, and that's the end of the show.
Yeah, I don't see that happening too much, but it is a distinct possibility at this point, because
I mean, I wouldn't take it off the table.
The good side isn't doing too well. It's like the, you know, Team Evil is holding all the cards at this point, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, we still haven't seen where the other 2 maidens are. We haven't seen anything from Vacuo at all. It hasn't even been mentioned hardly the last, like, 3 volumes. And Atlas is shutting down its borders, so, like, that relic and maiden is safe. As far as we know, like, we don't know where their maiden is at all. I would assume somewhere in Atlas.
That seems to be kind of the theming, but yeah. And it would make sense if, like, the Winter Maiden is hiding in Atlas, which seems to be the cold continent. Oh, yeah. Irony.
Yeah. But I mean, it's either summer or winter, so yeah. There you go. So, yeah, there's just a lot going on, and next episode,
so
literally, like, no matter what happens next episode, it's going to be just insanity, because there's so much happening right now, which I'm really glad to see after Volume 4, like, was just a lot of travel, a lot of backstory, a lot of just, like, healing and kind of just progressing characters, and this is like, hey, the events in the world are moving forward, and it's all fucked up. 100%.
Yep.
It's bad.
You get, like, you guys can sit in a corner and try to recover all you want, but that doesn't mean the world's stopping. Get back on. Keep going.
Exactly. And that's, because one of the things I love about Ruby is the world of it. And that's anything, like, I tend to focus more on, like, world events and just, like, how the world is shaped by those events and just what is in the world, in this case, Remnant. And that's why I really like being able to see the floating islands, because it's something new about the world that we haven't seen before, something totally different than anything we've seen before. And now there's all these world politics going on, like leaders of large groups are being taken out and replaced. And people are
like crappy emo kids
going to places trying to get people back into, you know, their control or their command or whatever. There's so much is happening right now. Atlas is shutting down the borders. Yeah, like,
it's gonna be so good.
Where we are in world politics and world events, when you talk about this episode versus Volume 1, it's a completely different.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking of a word. I can't think of it. I almost said geography, but that's not it.
Geopolitical.
Essentially, yeah, just a completely different world almost that we're living in. Just the climate of the world is completely different than it was in the beginning of Volume 1, because in Volume 1 we're in a time of peace, everyone's cool, and now it's like
we're in a time of peace and a time of denial.
That's also true, but I mean, as long as the Grimm exists, you can't really be in a time of peace necessarily.
Peace in our time.
But we now have, you know, it's like all the kingdoms were working together. Everyone was, you know, like doing well and thriving and everything. And now we have Atlas shutting down its borders, talking about war, Mistral having issues with Grimm attacks
still
and
out.
everything.
We don't have any communication.
Out. Yeah, that's a huge thing. Is like before they had instantaneous communication via essentially the internet. And now they have letters.
Now
like
we just have everyone's imagination to figure out what happened. And people are presuming the worst, as people tend to do.
Oh, yes. And we still haven't even seen what happened to Vacuo afterward, because, you know, Misto talked about, like, the Grimm came after everyone saw that. And the same thing had to have happened in Vacuo. And we don't even know what kind of Grimm are in Vacuo. They're in the desert. They could have some nasty shit out there.
They're gonna have, like, evil sand shrews. I don't know.
Of course. Giant sandworms. Like, that's the obvious thing, but
it's like Dune. It's just gonna be freaking Dune.
Pretty much. So, predictions for next episode, I don't know. That's all we've got, really. There's a ton of options. Yes, awesomeness is abound and assured, but we don't have really any idea where it's going. I mean, we have, like, it can go in these directions, but if they can throw in a twist like Weiss getting captured by Raven, that didn't even enter my brain. Yeah. I didn't see anybody even suggest that or think of that at all. So I can't imagine what else they have up their sleeve at this point of what I can't even imagine is going to happen.
Yeah. No, I'm very much looking forward to this. This is going to be fun.
Well, that I think we'll draw this video to a close. Thank you so much for joining me, Rebkos.
Absolutely.
And I hope you watching this enjoyed. I hope you took something from this, and feel free to leave comments below talking about what we've talked about or your own theories. And we'll once again try to be in the comments below and talking about all that stuff. If you're commenting, I still don't know, you know, if anybody's going to be talking about it in this video because it's still uploading. That'll be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back next week with our minds blown once again, probably.
I am so excited.
Oh, yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, Internet. My name is Aqua, and welcome to the RWBY discussion video. I coughed in the middle of that. God damn it. I need to clear my throat. Hello,
you want to do it
Internet.
again?
Yes, I do. We're gonna get this. It's fine.